as heavy machinery rumbled outside my window at 3 a.m. My porch light flickered against a scene of flashing hazard cones and smug HOA board members pointing at my driveway like executioners. They claimed my bricks were non-compliant, that my shutters were unapproved, and they laughed about liens as if my home was already theirs. Their voices carried like vultures circling over. I stood in the shadows, heart pounding, knowing they had no clue whose property they were threatening. To them, I was just another homeowner, powerless against their fines and letters. But what they didn't know was that I signed off on every loan in the city. Years before this HOA nightmare, I had clawed my way from teller to president of the largest local bank. This house wasn't just a purchase, it was the home where my kids learned to ride bikes, where my late father planted roses along the fence line, and where every Sunday morning smelled of pancakes and maple syrup. I poured my soul into this property, not for prestige, but for legacy. That's why the HOA's threats weren't just paperwork. They were attacks on my family's history. My neighbors whispered about past victims who had caved, selling under pressure. I refused to be next. The board thought intimidation would break me, but instead, it sparked something dangerous. Their first official move arrived in a thick envelope, an outrageous fine, stacked with legal threats. The harassment didn't stop at letters. Within days, my mailbox overflowed with violation notices, each one typed in bold red ink, like a scarlet brand. The sound of HOA board members' shoes clicking against the pavement during their inspections haunted the mornings. They smeared my name in newsletters, whispering lies that I defaulted on taxes. The smell of fresh paint stung my nostrils. One dong graffiti sprayed across my garage. Pay up or get out. Neighbors grew uneasy, fearing the board's wrath. I documented everything: the scratching of nails against my siding at midnight, the sudden death of my power during family dinners, the ominous silence that followed. The board's arrogance grew with every threat. They believed I was cornered. What they didn't realize was that I had just started gathering my ammunition. What the HOA failed to grasp was that their favorite weapon, threats, a foreclosure, meant nothing to me. I was the signature behind every mortgage in this county, the silent force who decided whether loans lived or died. Quietly, I pulled records, traced board members' personal debts, and examined the liens they had buried under layers of arrogance. I met with attorneys, auditors, even a journalist hungry for corruption stories. My allies grew silently, like storm clouds gathering on the horizon. Whispers began circling among neighbors. Something big was coming. The board carried on smugly, unaware that the very bank they depended on was preparing to crush them with their own paperwork. The turning point arrived when the media started calling me directly, asking about an HOA scandal brewing in the suburbs. The HOA staged their boldest stunt yet, a secret meeting at midnight where they voted to seize my home, filing paperwork they believed would corner me. By dawn, their trucks idled outside, prepared to tear down my porch. But as their president raised his gavel, my allies arrived. Sheriffs served warrants, auditors unsealed boxers of evidence, and reporters shoved cameras into stunned faces. Every debt they'd hidden, every illegal vote, every fraudulent lien was laid bare. The board's smirks crumbled into pale silence as I spread their financial skeletons across the very table they thought would bury me. Their attempt to seize my property had become the stage for their own collapse. Justice wasn't just coming, it was already in motion, roaring like thunder across the neighborhood. The fallout was swift and merciless. The HOA's leaders faced criminal charges, their personal assets frozen. The neighborhood, once strangled by their control, erupted in relief. Families I'd never spoken to shook my hand. Kids played freely again, and property values soared overnight. I didn't stop there. I transformed the HOA's abandoned funds into a neighborhood trust, funding gardens, repairs, and scholarships. The roses my father planted bloomed again under a golden sunset, their fragrance mixing with laughter spilling across driveways. I had not only saved my home, I had restored a community. Standing on my porch, I looked into the camera and asked, "What would you do if a Karen HOA tried to steal your house? Have you ever faced a nightmare like this?" Don't forget to subscribe,